Hello friends, this is Meow and I hope you're all doing well. So this is going to be my rambling thoughts about the game, Penumbra Overture, in case you couldn't tell. I actually tried to record this video just now, but it kind of failed. I didn't like it. I also tried to record this video last night after I finished my Let's Play. But that was even worse, so hopefully I'll get it right this time. So I don't really know if this should be called a review, because I'm just gonna sit here and talk. Right, I have a small list of bullet points or topics that I want to talk about. I'm gonna begin with the things that I did like, and then I'm gonna talk about the things that I did not like. Because this is actually the first game that Frictional Games made. I do believe, but this might not be correct. I do believe that they actually made the physics engine themselves. But like I said, I don't know. This game has not aged very well. It has some definite issues, but like I said, we're gonna start off with the good. So the good stuff, the things I did like about this game, is the setting and the atmosphere. I really like this kind of setting, this kind of underground mines, systems, caves, snowy places, way out in nowhere, remote places, you know. I think it's really good. Even though there's not that much to the levels themselves, there's really only one way to go most of the time. So it's very obvious where you need to go, because it is the only place you can go. There's most of this game is just a corridor. It's a corridor from point A to point B, with really nothing going on in that corridor. But even so, despite this, there is still a really powerful atmosphere in this game. I don't know how they pulled that off. But they did. It has this sort of sense of impeccable, like that's not the correct word. Impeccable. Impending doom, is that the word? Impending doom. There's a sense of just this seeping dread hanging, hanging out in the air, if you get what I'm saying. And I think a big part of this atmosphere is thanks to the lighting system. Without the lighting system, I think that this game would look or feel so much worse. The lighting compared with the sounds, while the sounds are really good in some places, it's also pretty bad in other places. But the ambient sounds, the sounds of the world, the items, your flashlight, your flare, this and that, combined with the lighting, it's really good. It's very high quality. It's really powerful. It fits the game so well. The next thing I really liked about this game is the story, because it's very Lovecraftian, and that's just a genre. Is that the word? That's a genre that I really like. I'm a big fan of the lore in Bloodborne because of this, and I'm a big fan of the story in this game because it's so human. At its core, it's so relatable, It kicks off with you getting a letter from your father, who you haven't heard from for like your whole life, And that's just like, what the hell, okay? And you get a key, and this key goes to a bank vault. You go there, you open the vault, and you find a bunch of documents and papers and this and that. And it says, burn these papers. Burn these documents. Burn them. Do it now. Don't look at them. Burn them. Of course you're gonna look at them. I would look at them. There's no way I would burn them without looking at them first. It is so human. It's so relatable. And they also were really subtle in this game with its story. And that really surprises me, because this is, like I said, their first game, as well as far as I can tell. And I'm very surprised that they did not try to overplay their hand and try to explain it too much to make sure that you got the point. They gave you enough to make you get a sense of what's going on, because in this game basically just sets up part 2, which is Black Plague. This game doesn't really tell you or give you any answers at all, really. It doesn't. But even so, it's captivating. I think it's pretty good. Now, if this was a standalone game, then of course I would say this story goes nowhere. It doesn't give you any answers. And of course, with Lovecraft, you can't really give answers, but need to give something at least. So I don't think that this game should be looked at as its own thing, like in isolation. I think that this game needs to be looked at in combination with Black Plague. Otherwise, it doesn't really work. So even though this story doesn't really, give you anything, well, and answers, I still like it, because it's a very good setup for part 2. I also really like Red. He's the only voiced character. He is the only voice that you hear in this game. And I think it's pulled off well. I don't really have much more to say about it than that. I think it's pulled off really well. And also there's this gut-wrenching punch in the end. When you find his document at his desk, they just add these 2 words that just makes you feel sick. At the end of his document, it says age 14. And that's just, oof. You don't need to say more than that, man. That just gets your mind racing, like, oh my god, he was here since he was 14? That's awful. How has he stayed down here? How has he lived down here? What has he eaten? How has he done this? Blah, blah, blah. That's just a gut-wrenching punch. With 2 words. Again, subtle. They were subtle. They gave you enough, but they did not overforce their hand, which is really good. There is one issue with Red though, and that is that he would sometimes begin talking to me when I was not in the right place to listen to him. For example, I was in the first spider cave, and I was trying to escape the cave because there were spiders chasing me. The whole tunnel was collapsing in on itself and falling apart. I had to deal with the spiders and deal with the breaking down the walls and pillars and stuff. And Red began talking. Like, mate, I'm sorry, but not right now. Okay. I'm a little bit busy. I can't just sit down and listen to what you have to say, mate. I would love to, but I can't. So I didn't understand or hear a single word of what he said. And this happened a few times, but none of the other times were as bad as this time, I think. So they should have made sure that they played Red's dialogue in moments where they knew that the player would not be doing anything else. Okay, so those were the good things that I really liked about this game. Now we'll get to the things I didn't like. Now again, this game is the first game that they made. Of course, it's gonna be a little bit janky, rough around the edges. I think this game came out in 2007, I don't know. It's been a while. This game came out a long time ago. So it's janky. This game is just janky. Movement is janky. Using your weapons is janky. There was a moment where I was trying to jump up onto a shelf. And I had placed like a plank thing up against it. I was trying to jump up on this shelf, but I couldn't jump up on it for some reason. So I had to like spam jump, and eventually it did. I did get on top of it, but I had so much movement to the side that I just flied right over it. And that happened like 2 times, so it was pretty damn annoying trying to get up on this freaking shelf. Opening doors, throwing things, using things, spinning wheels with the physics engine is also very janky, because the items are just so heavy. They have so much weight to them, and it doesn't help that depending on where you actually grab an item, the weight of it changes. But even in the best case scenario, it's still too awkward, too heavy, and too clunky to use. Well, to do things, you know, like opening doors. The enemies and the combat are pretty damn bad. The combat is not challenging, even though it is difficult. That's because of jank. It's difficult to be able to hit, especially the spiders. I mean, trying to attack them is just... it's not easy. There was also a time where I saw a bunch of spider eggs, so I thought, okay, I can kill them all if I throw a dynamite at them. So I threw my dynamite at the eggs. The eggs, when the dynamite went off, the eggs exploded, but all of the spiders within those eggs didn't die. Like, what the hell? That's kind of janky. There was also multiple times that I tried to kill the dogs using these explosive gas tanks, right? I smacked the gas tank. It began to begin to explode. I grab it, I throw it at the dog. It goes off right on top of the dog, and the dog just ignores it. Doesn't even feel it. This happened so many times that I stopped even trying. I stopped even trying to pull it off because I didn't trust the game to pull it off. Like, what the hell? It's just janky. The enemies themselves, the dogs and the spiders, are not that great. And part of this is because of the combat, right? Because you can kill them. It's not very difficult to kill the enemies. So the level of threat from the enemies is non-existent. It's not there. It's gone. Alright? It doesn't exist in this game. There is no... I never really had the sense of danger. Except for a few cases. In the beginning, I tried to approach this game in, like, courtesy, I guess. And I tried to give the enemies the respect that I think that the developer wanted them to have. But quickly I just went, you know what, I'll just kill these dogs. I'll kill these dogs and I'll just run past these spiders. I don't care, whatever. So the the enemies, the combat, the level of threat that I felt was really bad. So the horror aspect was not very strong at all, unfortunately. This is talking about the like my sense of self, self-preservation. I wasn't scared for my own sake, but I was scared of what I was gonna find within the story, which is good. So that's something. But the whole enemies, combat, this and that. It did not work at all, unfortunately. The items were another thing that I think was not done that well, because there were like quite a lot of items that I didn't really use. Like I got so many flares, and I think I had like 20 flares by the end. So I began using them just because I had 20 of them. Not quite sure what the flare was supposed to do. I think this game would have worked a lot better if they had actually taken away the glow stick, because it's permanent, right? It doesn't run out. Yeah. Also, there was a time where I used a flare and I dropped it on the floor, and it just went straight to hell. It just clipped through the floor and disappeared. So that was something. The sounds. While I praised the sounds a while ago, I also mentioned that the sounds are not that good in other places. And that's in regards to the enemies themselves and the combat music and stuff. It just doesn't really... It didn't land well, I think. The spiders, I mean, they don't sound spooky. They don't sound creepy, you know. First of all, a spider doesn't make sounds. It doesn't go whee, but they do in this game, and that's just kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. The sounds in regards to the enemies just didn't work well. They were not unsettling at all, I think. It just kind of failed. The AI of the enemies were pretty terrible. Like, just across the board, terrible. Killing the dogs was so easy. You just run about them and smack them. If you hit them once, they're guaranteed to be dead, unless you miss your attack because of jank. So that was just straight up terrible. The puzzles I didn't really like that much. I didn't really hate them, but I didn't think that they were done that well, because the puzzles were kind of weird sometimes, and I had to focus a lot on the puzzles themselves sometimes, and that made me take my mind off the horror. I think that in a horror game, you want your puzzles to be really simple and obvious, so that I don't take my mind off the horror to go into puzzle solving mode, right? But that's not, no, that's I guess just my opinion. Well, I mean, all of this is just my opinion, but you know. And now we'll get to the worst offender, the biggest offender in this game. And this is a thing that a lot of horror games do, and I think it's really bad. This game, it's very easy to die in this game. It's really easy to die in this game. The moment, listen to me, listen, okay? The moment you die in a horror game, all the tension is gone. It's gone, it just disappears. It goes out into space and never comes back. The moment you die, you get almost relieved, because, well, sometimes you're in a pretty sticky situation when you die, and you might be scared in that situation. But the moment you die, it's almost like, oh, well, that's over. Whew. That's not what you want your player to feel in a horror game. And also, what happens when you die is that you have to replay. And now, there is no horror at all, because you know exactly what's gonna happen, when, where, and how. So what you do is, you just run, you speed run to the place where you died, and then you might get back into this state of like, ooh, okay, here we go. And it might even cause frustration. And I'll tell you what is a really big antidote against fear. It's anger, right? when you're angry, you're not afraid. And you know, having to replay areas or segments because you died to some stupid jank or enemies that you can't even hit, it just kills the whole atmosphere. All the horror, all the tension just goes away and is replaced by annoyance and frustration. And in this game, it is so easy to die because of jank. Like the ice lake. I mean, I died because of jank. So yeah. I really think that horror games should do their absolute best to have the player not die at all at any point in the game. But this is a very, very difficult thing to pull off, because you also need the player to be afraid. And if the player knows that they are basically invincible, then, well, there's no fear. They can't die. They are invincible. So you need the player to be vulnerable, so that you need your player to be able to die, but you gotta make sure that they somehow don't die. And also, this is not purely on the developer. This is dependent on the player as well. So this is not something that the developer can ensure, but it is something that I think that horror games should aim at. So yeah, there you go. Those are my rambling thoughts about Penumbra Overture. I hope that we got something out of this video. If you have played this game, or you've watched someone play this game, please let me know what you think about it in the comments. I mean, you can write it anywhere, but I won't see it unless it's in my comment section. So, hey, you do what you want, right? It's your choice. Right, well, I hope that you enjoyed the video to some extent. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched my Let's Play, thank you so much. I guess I'll see you in Penumbra Black Plague, if that's the next thing I'm gonna be doing. I might do something else in the, like, 2 things at once, but that's probably a bad idea, because I'm gonna end up not finishing either of those 2 projects then, so we'll see. But I am going to play Penumbra Black Plague sometime soon, so hopefully I'll see you then. Okay, thank you so much for watching again. See you next time. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.